Good morning guys, in this episode Willem and I are participating in the Top of Holland bird race, a competition in which the finder of the rarest bird wins a pair of binoculars.
Hi, I'm the Dutch birder and 2025 is my 17th year of birding. This year I'm on a quest to document at least 250 different bird species. Join me on my quest through wetlands and forest of the small European country called the Netherlands.
Our plan for the day is to try and add as many scarce and rare species to our year list. Species like European turtle dove, short-toed eagle, honey buzzard, white-winged tern, etc. And in the meantime, we of course hope to find that rarest bird. And our first target of the day will be a European turtle dove at the Drents Wold.
The Drents Wold is one of the largest continuous nature reserves in the northern Netherlands, located on the border of Drenthe and Friesland. This national park covers around 6,000 hectares and features a varied landscape of vast forests, heathlands, drifting sands and stream valleys. It's exactly this variety that makes the area particularly attractive for many beautiful bird species.
Slight change of plans, because in the area we were about to search for the European turtle dove, a singing common rosefinch has been reported. And that is a very rare species in the Netherlands with only a handful of breeding pairs. It is a second calendar year male, so not a red adult, but just a grey bird. But hopefully we can add it to our year list.
There were already some bird watchers present, but unfortunately they had bad news for us. Since its discovery, the common rosefinch hadn't been seen or heard again. The spot did look promising for the species, so we decided to give it a try anyway to see if we might still come across it. A redback shrike had also been reported in the area, but we couldn't find that one either.
Well, that was quite disappointing. Since the discovery, the bird is silent, so we've dipped it. Well, when you start the day with a dip, it can only get better. So we're now going to search for the turtle dove.
On our way to the turtle dove site, we drove along this road when we noticed a small group of birders standing by the roadside. We asked if anything interesting had been seen, and they told us about a singing wryneck. That species would be new for our year list, so we decided to invest some time here. And finally, we did saw a redback shrike sitting at the top of a tree. This species has been doing really well in the Netherlands in recent years, which is great because they're stunning birds with the distinctive black mask. Shrikes are favorites among many birders, thanks to their habit of perching invisibly on top of bushes and their hunting behavior of impaling prey on thorns or barbed wire to store for later. It didn't take long before we heard first one and then two wrynecks singing, likely a male and a female in a duet. Just like the redback shrike, the wryneck is also a conservation success story. Thanks to targeted habitat management, more open spaces have become available for them to slurp up ants with their long tongues. The Drents Wold is a real stronghold for the species in the north of the Netherlands.
Zit bovenin.
Ik zie hem, zit bovenin. Ik heb hem.
Lovely! On our way to the turtle dove, we saw some birders standing on the side of the road and we asked them, "Do you see anything?" They told us they heard a wryneck singing. So we went out and investigate and we got it! Just a short clip, but I can add it to the challenge. Haha, nice!
After 2 stops, we could finally continue on to the turtle dove location. We'd visited this site in previous years and usually found several individuals, some of which gave fantastic views, so our hopes were high. But before we could reach the spot, we were delayed again. On both sides of the path, we heard woodwobblers singing, another favorite species, mainly because they often sing fairly low to the ground, making them great to watch. It was also a new species for the challenge. Although we had heard one during the Tesselbik day, we hadn't had the time to film it back then. The woodwobbler is related to the chiffchaff and willow warbler, but much rarer. They prefer middle-aged forests, ideally deciduous woodland dominated by oak and beech. An open understory is important, as they build their nest on the ground. They are often found near beech trees, which have the handy trait of producing branches that hang low to the ground, perfect for a species that prefers not to sing too high up. Their song is often described as sounding like a marble bouncing on a table, getting faster and faster, usually preceded by a few sharp C notes. The number of breeding woodwobblers fluctuates from year to year, but has remained relatively stable over the past 20 years. It's not too difficult to get a nice close-up of this species sitting out in the open. What does make it tricky to get the perfect shot are the lighting conditions deep in the forest close to the ground. Filming, however, is a whole different story. Like most songbirds, woodwobblers are restless little creatures that frequently switch singing perches. For a photo, they often sit still long enough, but they hardly give you the chance to capture a good long video shot. We spent quite a while with this bird, which at times even perched right above us.
So, we finally arrived at the spot of the turtle dove, but we don't hear any singing yet. We did came across another birder who told us there were a couple of turtle doves singing here, so I guess we have to wait some time.
This part of the forest is absolutely fantastic when it comes to bird diversity. Calling black woodpeckers, siskins flying overhead, singing woodlarks, and, in the distance, the trumpeting calls of cranes. While we were waiting for turtle doves to start going, we noticed a raptor flying in over the forest. It turned out to be a beautiful northern goshawk, which, luckily for us, decided to circle around a bit. Normally, I only catch a glimpse of them, often just a flash or a bird darting through the trees. But this one really gave us a chance to get some nice footage. Pay attention to its bulky body, broad hips, powerful legs, and also the rounded tail, very different from the sharply squared tail of a sparrowhawk. Since the turtle doves weren't really cooperating, we decided to take a walk in hopes of finding one that way.
We are now finally hearing our first turtle dove. Now let's see if we can find it.
Morale started to dip a bit. The song seemed to be coming from deep inside a dense patch of forest. Would we be able to get the shot? No need to keep you in suspense. We did manage it. After some wandering back and forth to pinpoint the exact location of the sound, I noticed a larger dead tree behind a row of living ones. Knowing that turtle doves often use these kind of trees as song posts, I carefully checked the tree from several angles and, through a maze of branches, finally found the target, a turtle dove. Where species like the redback shrike and wryneck have been making a comeback, sadly the same can't be said for the turtle dove. When I started birding in 2009, the species was already scarce, but by doing big days almost every year, we've seen firsthand how it has disappeared from many areas. Sometimes we had to search for entirely new locations every year just to find one. Recently, after a temporary hunting ban in parts of the Mediterranean, there was a glimmer of hope. Numbers slightly increased and new areas were being recolonized. Unfortunately, that small success was then used as an excuse to partially reopen hunting. So the situation remains precarious for this species.
Yes, we found the turtle dove. Because of our experience in the past, we know where we had to look. So when we heard it singing, we scanned all the dead treetops, and there it was. Wow, we had to look through quite a lot of branches, so the shots aren't as clear as they can be, but I'm very happy with it. Another one added to the challenge. Our next target will be the red-footed falcons of the Dwingeldeveld.
With the turtle dove in the bag, but still without having found a rarity of our own, we traded the Drensfrieswold for the Dwingeldeveld, another gem of a nature reserve. Along the path, we spotted a green hairstreak butterfly, a typical species for these kind of habitats. There was already a group of birders in this area as well, because this was the location of our next target, the rare red-footed falcon. In the days leading up to the Top of Holland bird race, several of these falcons had been seen here. Earlier that morning, both a male and a female had been reported, but now only a female remained, which Willem quickly spotted with his telescope. It was around midday, so it was hot with a lot of heat haze, and the position of the sun was far from ideal. I had already taken good photos of the species before, so that didn't really bother me. In any case, another species added to the challenge list. In the Netherlands, red-footed falcons are almost guaranteed to be seen whenever there's a strong easterly wind current in May. They often appear in the same areas where you find Eurasian hobbies. These two species resemble each other somewhat, but while the hobby mainly hunts dragonflies and small birds like swallows with fast agile flights, the red-footed falcon feeds almost exclusively on insects. Dragonflies are certainly on the menu, but also grasshoppers and beetles. Here, for example, the cockcheever was a frequently caught prey item. The red-footed falcon tends to hunt from a lookout perch or by hovering, much like a kestrel. While hobbies usually defend their own territory, red-footed falcons are more colonial breeders. Both species use old nests of crows or other birds of prey. We also decided to scan the skies because yesterday an ultra-rare booted eagle had flown over this very spot. While scanning, a European stonechat came to see what all the fuss was about. We also saw a beautiful pair of redback shrikes here, with a clear view of the difference between the male below and the female above.
So we got the red-footed falcon at the Dwingeldeveld. There was a bit of heat haze, so not many details are visible, but we're happy we got it. And we also saw 2 Eurasian hobbies and some cranes and white storks flying overhead, so that was really nice. We also talked to some other birders, so that was also a lot of fun. We have now arrived in the Vogel vein to hopefully search for some more raptors like honey buzzards and short-toed eagle. I'm getting a call now.
In this area, major efforts are underway to raise the water level in the core area and to retain this water for longer throughout the season. This was clearly visible here with the construction of a new sand dike. From this path, we spotted a handsome male northern wheatear, a species that in the Netherlands mainly breeds in the coastal dunes and in the Drents-Friese Wold, although sometimes birds from the Drents-Friese Wold are seen in the surrounding areas like the Dwingeldeveld. It's also possible that this was a late migrant still on its way to the far north. A species closely related to the northern wheatear and almost exclusively breeding in the Vogel vein is the windchat, another species I needed for the challenge. It didn't take long before we found one, but the question is, can you spot it in this shot? From a slightly different angle, the bird was fortunately easier to see. Of course, there was still that annoying heat haze, and by now the wind had picked up quite a bit too, but another target secured. Eventually, the windchat perched out in the open for a bit, giving us a relatively clear view. On the way back to the car, we spotted a Harrier flying by. Since Montagu's Harriers had been reported in this area, we immediately started filming it. However, its overall brown appearance, without a white rump, quickly revealed its identity as a Western Marsh Harrier.
In the meantime, we've arrived in the Lauwersmeer, and our first stop is an abandoned campsite, because yesterday I got a tip that some golden orioles should be visible there, and that is a species I really would love to film.
While we were waiting for the hoped-for golden oriole, this giant suddenly flew overhead. They're no longer considered rare these days, but it's still always impressive when a white-tailed eagle passes by. We also saw this great spotted woodpecker with its beak full of food, indicating that somewhere nearby there were hungry chicks waiting in a nest hole. Meanwhile, we kept hearing a smacking call that we couldn't quite place at first. After some investigation, we found the culprit, an alarm-calling spotted flycatcher. It wasn't immediately clear why the bird was so alarmed, since there were no other alarm-calling birds nearby. One possibility was that the bird had a nest in one of the trees, so we stepped back a bit and of course I filmed the bird, especially since it was new for the challenge. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that the camera had focused just behind the bird rather than on it. That used to happen often with my old camera, but with the eye detection on my current setup, that's pretty rare nowadays. I suspect the bird was just a bit too small in frame for the autofocus to work properly. The next surprise still wasn't the hoped for golden oriole. but a nice common cuckoo that Willem spotted sitting in a dead tree at the forest edge. The distance was fairly large, but since I don't often get the chance, I started filming first and then slowly moved closer. Luckily, the bird stayed in the same spot for quite a while, allowing me to get some nice close-up footage. Unusually cooperative for a cuckoo. Female cuckoos come in both grey and brown morphs. This brown bird was therefore a female. Had she already dropped her eggs into some unsuspecting host's nest around here? And then, finally success. We heard the golden oriole singing and managed to pinpoint which tree it was in. Before we could actually spot the bird, it flew out and landed much further away in another tree. Finally countable for the challenge. Unfortunately, the bird disappeared again after just a few seconds.
Finally saw a golden oriole. After 45 minutes of searching, we heard one singing very close by, and we kept getting nearer and nearer, and then we saw it fly from the tree and land in another tree, and there I could get a very short clip. But it's countable for the challenge. But of course, for my archive, I would love to have some longer shots. So we're gonna try for maybe another half an hour. If we don't succeed by then, we'll give up, and then we'll go after some dotterels.
No more golden orioles, and at the next location we also failed to find the hoped-for short-eared owl. What we did find was a grey plover, and I realized I hadn't yet filmed one this year. Our next stop was a place where we hoped to add a rarer plover species to the list. We had actually expected to pick this one up during the Tesselbeek Day, but this time there were no dotterels present on the island. None had been reported at Lauwersmeer this year either, so we had to go all the way to Northwest Friesland, where luckily a small group was still around. Dotterels are far from shy, but they often stay well out in the fields, and this time was no different. The wind was still blowing quite strongly, but we quickly found these beautiful little feathered balls. The end of the bird race was drawing near, but unfortunately no other rarities were present in the surrounding fields. The dotterel is one of those species where the females are more brightly colored than the males, and where the males take care of the incubation duties. The species mainly breeds in cold, open areas, on the tundra and in mountain regions. They don't just breed in the far north, but also in certain spots in the Alps and the Pyrenees. Their wintering grounds aren't particularly far south either. They overwinter in a few places in Spain, North Africa and the Middle East.
The dotterels were really easy, so we're now heading back to the Lauwersmeer to hopefully see some cool waded species like Temming stint, broad-billed sandpiper or maybe a pectoral sandpiper.
With this target species successfully ticked, we drove back to Lauwersmeer. Willem still needed broad-billed sandpiper for his year list. Our search was slightly complicated by a herd of cows that stoically decided to block the road in front of the car. After driving a bit further, we managed to add another species to the challenge. I had somehow managed to miss getting a filmable gargany all year long until now. Next, our focus shifted to waders, and right up front we found the stunning curlew sandpiper. However, we didn't find the hope for broad-billed sandpiper here, so we moved on to the Bochtjesplaat, where we met up with some other birders. Together, we quickly managed to track down the broad-billed sandpiper, a great way to round off a long and beautiful day of birding. The rarest bird unfortunately was not found by us, but there's always next year. In the next episodes, I'll be heading out with Willem again to search for more mega rare birds like a melodious warbler and a Eurasian scops owl. Will we manage to get this ultra rare owl on camera? Subscribe and join us next time to find out.